everywhere. But even then, he probably still has like $600,000 in earnings and prize money alone. Like
he actually doesn't. He's actually, because of the way GSL worked with the second places, like the first 2 GSLs he lost, Zest made like 70K or something, and soO made 14K. It was just brutal. So yeah, that really hurt his earnings, but I don't think it's about the earnings.
Yeah, no, you're right.
He's actually...
Yeah, he's still at nearly 550K.
Still really,
right?
really
Getting
good.
a lot of second places, it still adds up.
Yeah, of course. Like, he's still
Both
doing
of these players just extremely consistent, right?
more than well for himself. But let's move on to the first map now, Acropolis.
Yeah, Acropolis, basically the macro map of macro maps. Most of the time when you see a ZvZ here, you don't really, usually it just turns into like a big macro fest with a bunch of roaches, some very late game oriented stuff, Nidus Worms, 200 Roach, Hydra Lurker. We can also see a little bit more cheeky stuff like Mass Muta play. But we don't really get to see, we need to wait a little bit to see where this goes, but most likely, based on how these players like to play, I'm not really expecting too much Muta, so probably more like Ling Bane pressure into Roach, that type of thing.
So if soO is prepared, so last year, towards the end of last year, especially Montreal, Serral was struggling a bit with the Muta styles, with the very aggressive Muta styles. So
right, yeah, I remember this one game, it was Lambo versus Serral on Cyber Forest, that one very specifically prepared Muta build.
I think maybe if he is prepared, maybe not. So I think if we're going to see Muta, it's probably, or like more aggressive Muta styles, it's from soO. Well, Serral is more like the stock standard guy, and if Serral is going to pull out anything, it's going to be just a very crisp timing of some sorts, not necessarily a whole style.
Serral's been doing that a little bit lately, like some cheeky Roach warrants early on, putting on a lot of pressure, Roach speedling, and then trying to equalize and then catch up, like really trying to catch the opponent off guard.
So this is more what I think of soO, Serral, where he's just like moving in his own like style with Roaches or so, where he has like his aggressive timings, but he doesn't really switch up his style completely.
Yeah.
So
always just trying to be reactive, trying to outplay the opponent with just raw macro.
But yeah, for now, these just normal ZvZ stuff, 33rd base and like...
Third base, Baneling Nest.
Yeah. I think you're right though, like neither of these players really has any particular weakness or like neither of them plays particularly cheesy. They're just really solid, well-round. And they've been around for years as well, right? Obviously, soO longer, I think, so than Serral, but...
So I think if there is going to be a weakness for soO, that is, it's going to be like the very, very late stages of the game. I've always felt like he's more looking to end it in mid-tier tech kind of style, not really going to the very, very late stages of the game.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe also the way Serral is going to take advantage of soO and the way he plays.
Yeah, and this timing here, 3 minutes, 30 seconds, that's where we usually see the deviation. I think soO went a little bit more heavy on the circlings, but they're very, very close in what they're doing here. But I would expect soO to be a little bit more aggressive here, but he's also droning behind it and both players getting Evo Chamber. Like, this is just your typical ZvZ.
Just some light Ling Bane pressure, just to keep track of what the opponent is doing. Nothing out of the ordinary, just nothing too aggressive. You just want to like force your opponent to get some Zerglings themselves and like scout out what's happening, if they're getting drones, if they're getting an upgrade.
So the worst case here would be that you're not paying attention and you lose a bunch of Zerglings to Banelings, and then the game can really shift in either player's favor. But at this level, stuff like that, it's very unlikely to happen, right?
That's at my level. At my level, that happens all the time. One cheeky little Baneling, 16 Zerglings.
That happens
to me
on
all the
my
time
level and on Snood's level just as well. Like, Snood is a little bit higher still than me, but it happens everywhere. Like, you shouldn't feel too bad because, especially
it hasn't been a week since I lost 16 Zerglings to 1 Baneling.
Especially if you like
it hasn't been a day since I lost 16 Zerglings to 1 Baneling. Let's not talk about that.
If you play games for like 5 hours straight, and at some point it just,
it just happens.
You just miss 1 Baneling, it's like, oh, that was
It happens really fast.
And you just hear the sound effect making fun of you. It's like, it's like, damn it.
And there was this time when Serral streamed this a long time ago now, but just like when you lose 16 Zerglings to a Baneling and you're like, and then you see Serral losing on a stream 3 Banelings to 2 Banelings and he gets really upset about it. It's just so funny. Like, they're really looking for like the smallest of details, just some some light pressure, nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah, like this is what we talked about before the game, right? It's either Muta style or it's this type of Ling Bane soft pressure into Roach. So now we're going into the 66 drone.
Especially on Acropolis, you have so much vision around the third and the natural main bases and the ramp. So there is not a whole lot you can just sneak by or like get away with so easily, but you still have so much open area that you can scout very well with Lynx. So it's just Acropolis is just such a stock standard map for ZvZ.
But we do see a bit of a difference though. Serral is going for Overlord speed and 6 gases, whereas soO, well, like...
soO is lagging. That's the difference.
It's possible to pause for sure.
He's going for double Evo chamber as well. soO is just sitting on 1. So that's actually a pretty big deal, right? Like that's one of those things that may come into play, like you were saying earlier.
Absolutely.
But the macro game, especially if it goes to the later stages.
Serral is also going for a drop Overlord, but those are just tiny differences for now. We're going to see the way they're going to look for some harassment.
Yeah. Quick pause.
Yeah, just I'm not sure. I think solar is also playing versus Lambo right now, so...
Yeah, if there's another game going on, we could definitely jump into that if this...
maybe jump into that, but maybe we will see. So soO is complaining a bit about lag. Traders is going, moving in now, so...
Alrighty, so currently, as far as Solar versus Elaser goes, that one is currently 1-0 in favor of Solar.
Okay, so... yeah, but what I was going into was just that... like for now, just now in 6 minutes, we see small difference, and it's just going to about like, European ZvZ is maybe a bit more towards this like Overlord speed, second Evo.
Absolutely.
And just like the light harassment is going to be this one drop Overlord with 4 roaches. You're just trying to snipe queens to like leave the Overlord alive and force some reactions. But it's really nothing very committed so far from Serral's side. And
like the difference here is that soO is basically like gearing up for this huge sledgehammer attack with only a single chamber, road speed, plenty of units, right?
Yeah.
But Serral is taking a bit more of a defensive approach here. He's getting double chamber, a bit more expensive, a bit more risky perhaps, and he's getting Overlord speed, which is going to give him a lot of map vision, easy to see counterattacks. It's very long-term oriented play, and the drop Overlord, which we see a lot in Europe these days. You can use it to load up Banelings from the early game, drop it on the mineral lines, or you can even load up 4 roaches. And as the opponent, it's very difficult to know if it's Banelings or if it's roaches. If it's roaches, you need to actually commit roaches of your own to deal with it. Or if it's Banelings, you need to split your drones. And you don't really know until the Overlord is parked above your mineral line, right? So a lot of the time you'll see players make spores to just kind of help and zone out the Overlord. But I mean, the risk of playing this European style is that if you commit a little bit too much to the Overlord speed, and to the drops and everything, and all of a sudden maybe the sledgehammer attack just hits you at the front.
It hits you really hard.
Yeah, it hits really hard.
And
so what about like Hydralisk transitions? Do you think that
it's good?
See that?
It's good, but it's very risky.
Yeah.
So now we're moving on, just real quick, because there's still some lag issues, it seems like, into Laser Solar. Solar is ahead 1-0.
Did he just...
Laser did actually practice that with Serral earlier. He's going to move around the top side.
With the spine crawlers?
Yes, it's going to be with spine crawlers.
One of my favorite builds.
Solar moves his Overlords. He's going to miss it completely.
Just gotta give a quick shout out to Bly.
Yeah, he started this whole thing, right?
The funny thing is, on this map, it would technically be bad just because the rush distance is so long. But I guess you can squeeze out a couple more Zerglings. And with the way he's running, like, the Overlords won't spot it.
You won't see a 12 pool at all as the other Zerg. So the drone...
Even right here, he's not going to spot it.
He doesn't know it until just now with the drone. This is the 20th drone. He's still committed even to the Overlord. So he's going to be in a lot of trouble. There's no wall, there's nothing in here. And yeah, you're just, I'm not sure how you're going to hold it as Solar, because you're in a really, really bad spot. As soon as the laser holds the ramp, even you can't move the drone.
And if you look at the mineral line layout, there's no nook to hide your drones in.
There's nothing really you can do.
If these spine crawlers go up, he's in a world of trouble. He does need to be a little bit careful here. Yeah, you don't want to necessarily just fight these drones straight up, but
really
it's just a matter of time, right?
He's buying time.
Yeah,
exactly.
buy time.
He wants to really buy time for the spines now. You want to start fighting just to get like no damage on the spines, but now, as soon as the spines finish, like Elaser, he can fight and Solar can't, because now you can even just move out one spine crawler. There's 3 spine crawlers, so what are you going to do? As Solar.
Suicide to Queen. That's what he's going to do.
Yeah, that seems like what he's going to do. But yeah, there's just, I see there's like very little chance now for Solar.
Yeah, he could even send these drones back if he's feeling really brave. But obviously, this game is pretty much as good as over. It's a frustrating one. Currently, by the way, the series is 1-0 in favor of Solar. So A bit of a risky build here, obviously, for Elazer.
So, well, as I said, there was something Elazer practiced with Serral a bit earlier. They were looking into the game just a bit. And yes, we're moving back because, well, look, in all honesty, the game is most likely going to be over.
Matu, man, observing 2 games at once.
Yeah,
what a beast. I know.
Absolutely.
We talked about this earlier. We have a theory that he's got 2 eyes that can move independently.
And this game has been developing quite a bit too. Like a little bit of fast forward going on here, but it looks like the board state is, you know, about where we expected it to be. 200, CVC. Overlord speed is active, tunneling class on the way.
We were talking about Hydra and Hydra transition maybe a bit later on. It's just really expensive to go into Hydras, and they're very slow, and with their 5 range at the start. So you can't really transition into Hydras before you've hit 200 supply, I feel like, because it's just then the risk of getting a sledgehammer or just multiple harassment groups. You're going to be in a lot of trouble as just versus a lot of roaches.
Yeah, and just a quick update from the game that we saw during the break. Elazer was actually, you know, he took that game. Just making sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are right now at that 200 stage, right? But Serral knows that soO is just going for a single upgrade right now, which is a big deal as well.
Yeah, and pushing down this ramp, it's really not going to happen. It's just too much of a concave from Serral. He's splitting it perfectly, so it's very difficult as soO to push here. I would love to see tunneling claws from him and maybe some sort of Nidus worm. Like, there's a lot of possibilities from here. Yeah, but it's still in production, right? So both players, they just have to wait.
Yeah, for one big deal here is that Serral is ahead by 8 workers. He had 9 workers, so that's a lot. And now we see the transition from Serral. So he's going to look into transitioning into Hydras, maybe Lurkers and Vipers. So just going to get ready at least for a later tech. And soO is just moving in. He's just seeing the opportunity here.
Yeah, and the supply is looking pretty good for now, but they're both remaxing, of course.
But I feel like just the 2-1 supply, like Serral still has the upgrade advantage.
Yeah,
so
that's huge.
Yeah,
and also the defender's advantage obviously as well.
Still looking very close, and as soon as the first Rotos pop of Serral, soO has to move back, I feel like.
Yeah, soO is trading well, but this is the moment when the Rotos pop, and soO is going to be forced to back off.
And as soon as he's forced to back off now
he takes some losses on the retreat.
Yeah, that's actually like kind of negating a lot of the advantage he just created for himself.
And just looking at the fact that Serral has been ahead for a couple of workers, like you want to be 5 workers ahead of Zerg.
Yeah. Wow. And now they kind of meet in the middle.
Yeah, he's got a step forward as well, though, right? Like that's a little bit
that's
risky.
a long damn fight. This is very uncommon for.
And I like this. I like this a lot for Serral, just because he has the extra Ravagers and DPS, and because it's on Serral's side. Like Serral never crossed midline, but soO was trying to push midline too, and Serral also has the +2 care pace on the way.
Like the +2 is just about to finish up.
I think he just cancelled Hive because he realized how committed soO is.
Yeah, the thing is, when you start trading like this, your bank really dries up, and that's kind of why we don't really see players rush into Hydralisks or infestation pits or complicated things, right? Because all of a sudden, the opponent is just going to charge into you, and then you need to be prepared with that big remax, right?
And every single detail in Roach vs. Roach makes a really big difference. Small upgrade leads or just small Roach leads make massive difference. Yeah. They can snowball out of control super quickly, very easily.
I would love to see Serral hit that Roach key, but he's just firing biles and controlling for now. There we go, a little bit of a remax. soO is still trying to push down this ramp though, and even with tunneling claws, we don't really see it being used too much from either side.
I think they're just both too scared to send in little packs of roaches around.
There we go. Actually, nice by Serral.
Serral is just so good, yeah.
Yeah, this is the thing, like Serral plays this way all the time. He takes a defensive posture, sets up a few counterattacks like a triple roach barrel like this. And if the opponent is...
I forgot about the overload.
Yeah, I mean, there's even more potential, right?
Yes, so it just looks really good for Serral, just the position that he's holding. He's always being defensive. He's now at a 2 upgrade lead.
And there's
he's
no
finally
spot
getting his Hive. He's ahead in his tech as well. And is he looking to surround soO's army completely now, or is he going
I think it's just a somewhat committed counter.
Run by?
Maybe a surround? Yeah,
it looks a little bit like it. So the movement I also thought is maybe more of a surround, which is a little surprising, not very common, but I think it's the right move here. It's
there we go.
Way too much now.
At
he
this
can
point,
chase that army.
At this point, I really want to ask myself, like, where is soO's army? Like, there's, of course, some Roaches and Ravagers here, but Serral has just way more stuff, right? And here are some of the reinforcements, but most of soO's army was just basically hatching from home.
Yes.
And he got caught off guard by Serral, who also was counterattacking at the same time. So this is just soO trying a little bit of the, sledgehammer approach. And Serral was like, well, I'm just going to sit back, play methodical. I have my base here. Like, I think the base layout that Serral chose here in this game is also very good.
Very good for defense.
It's very good for defense, right?
He had like 7, 8 drones during all of that.
Yeah.
On his opponent, right?
7
and those
exactly.
upgrades. And it's just like if you trade evenly, at some point you're gonna pull really far
exactly.
ahead.
All this time, Serral just like took the slightly better fights, and that's what ZvZ is all about. Like really just tiny details, pulling ahead all the time, just a little bit.
Yeah.
And at some point, then you just you just take a huge lead in the fight and just roll over your opponent. That is what ZvZ, especially Roach versus Roach, is all about.
It's like you saw that, I killed him so easy. Just beat him straight up, didn't even try.
Yeah, just talking with Lambo here, just having some fun. It seems like this is like the reason why this very sledgehammer approach of Roach versus Roach.
It used to be stronger before.
Yeah, it used to be a bit stronger. But
because in Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm, we didn't really have the Ravagers that were so good at buying time.
Exactly.
And it was just more about taking that one gigantic mass Roach shove
where
type
you just
of fight,
like
right?
take the slightly better fight and then you just roll over your opponent.
But in Legacy, ZvZ has developed a lot for the better.
Oh yeah.
You need to have a way broader skill set. You need to be able to micro in far more places compared to before, where it was all in just one blob, massive Roach blob versus another, right?
And it's really just like the development of the Ravager and also the Overlord speed being a bit cheaper, the Overlord drop being a bit cheaper. Because before it was like this 200, 200, all your Overlords can drop now. Now it is this just single Overlords, and you can just buy yourself like very different amounts of harassment. You have this like more committed with the Nidus maybe. You have this more or less committed with the Overlords, or like maybe more committed also with the Roachborough movement. Like there are very different forms of commitment now that you can go into more harassment or more defense. So this is very interesting the way it developed. And I feel like soO just, he went a bit of an older approach, and Serral just showed why the newer approach where you just stay defensive, look for good positions, and have slight, like small different squads of harassment. That's the way to go.
Yeah. And this is the type of game that we see Europeans, the top European Zergs basically practice all day long. Like very few times do you see them actually go for something else than the Overlord speed in the 200-200 game. It's almost like it's frowned upon not to play this type of defensive, maxed out,
especially
grand
when you're
type of Zerg.
playing just to practice.
Yeah.
Like it makes so much more sense to play this defensive style because you can all the time react to and realize, well, if your opponent is actually going for something aggressive.
And there's always more stuff to do, right?
Yes.
Like the Baneling bombs we didn't even see being utilized. Like you have to be very fast and very smart to play this style.
One thing I would have loved to see with the Baneling bomb, especially because it's only 3 Banes, maybe not drop them into drones, but on the Roaches, because you can take a big advantage on the fight maybe sometimes with that. A lot of damage.
Maybe.
But
it's something we don't really see too often.
Well, if you have the Banelings anyways, so that's kind of where you take it from. Because now you don't really expect it, you don't really see it, but yeah. So this is what we saw a lot more from soO at IEM versus Serral especially, is gasless with a pull first instead of a hatch first.
Yeah, 12 pull expand. So a little bit of a cheeky way to play. We see this sometimes.
It's not very common too.
Yeah.
But I guess if you're gonna do it on the Cyberforest map, it's pretty good, right? It's
it's one of the smaller maps, right?
Laser. Little update. Apparently he won. Alrighty.
So
even though he was
it's 2-1 now. Yeah, he won a game, not the whole series just yet. But yeah, 12 pull, especially on Cyberforest, obviously really good because the rush distance is very small. Also, you have a bit harder time defending the natural because the geysers are a bit in the way. So you just see the Zerglings moving between the ramp and Snoot, you were talking like 2 days ago about how you're afraid of 12 pull.
Yeah. I mean, it's scary. Like he lost the drone already, and I'm not quite sure why Serral isn't pulling more drones to defend this.
Also,
there we go. Okay.
A bit weirded out by
it's a lot of damage on the hatch rate though.
But
and already losing one drone it kind of stings, right?
It really hurts.
So
you can't
I
really
think he's actually pulling a little bit too late, right? Because that hatchery usually
like
you pull when it's like halfway done or so.
Yeah, you want to pull just like
it's good.
Halfway done, but it's just enough because soO doesn't want to lose all the Zerglings, just put his eggs all in one basket.
How dare I doubt Serral even for like a second?
I know, right? He just shows how it's done.
If you lose all the links on soO's side here, you're actually in a bit of a rough spot because you have to rebuild Zerglings as well because there's going to be a counterattack, right?
I like how he only pulled like 3 drones to begin with.
Yeah.
Like normally I would pull way more against the 6 links, but he was like, yeah, you know, I can just take a little bit more damage on this hatchery. And
I'm
it's
not
super
sure
fine.
if just the 3 drones are worth it because he didn't force any movement of the Zerglings at all.
And it still worked.
And that it did work. Like this is
He
always
did
the
force
thing
a
where
little
you're
bit
like,
of movement, though. Like the Zerglings did pull back for a little
yeah,
bit.
just for a while, and he lost the drone for that. So I'm a bit. Well, it's always the point. Well, you're looking at Serral and you're like,
It's tough
well,
to tell,
is it really the good way? And then he makes it work, and you're like, well, how could I doubt him, right? But yeah, it seems to be working out just fine. So they're even workers now. Serral is just on a little bit of the gas. He just left 1 drone on the gas just to get 100 gas a bit quicker. Going back now, getting the Evo chamber for +1 ranged probably, because it is the map for that. You have a very easy wall off.
Yeah, I mean, Cyber Forest is a bit of a trickster map. Like, it's very easy to hide 2-base builds when you have the ramp leading up. It's a very short rush distance map. And you can use the queens very effectively once creep tumors are out to kind of shoo the overlords away. So it's the type of map where we would see a lot of preparation builds come out.
Yeah.
A lot of complicated lair tech, could be Nidus worms, could be Muta builds, could be a lot of different
things. What are
things.
these Zerglings doing with that overlord?
They just really like that overlord, okay? Sometimes
They
the
really
queen
want
is
to
a little bit
defend it.
annoying. So both players seem to be skipping Zergling speed entirely this game.
Yeah,
You think that's the correct call?
Yeah.
Yes, that is pretty normal also with the 12th pool. Like sometimes you see very aggressive follow-up builds either versus the 12th pool or as the 12th pool with fling speed, but you're not going to play a defensive quote-unquote normal game with circling speed after that, generally speaking. You sometimes see it, but it's very rare. You more likely go for the upgrade, the first gas into the upgrade, then the lair. And yeah.
But the big difference here, of course, is that Serral is once again taking the defensive approach. He is taking the 3rd base a little bit before soO.
Yeah,
But soO is also expanding, but it's just like Serral is really trying to set the pace here and really force soO to make a move and attack into him again.
Exactly, that's
And
kind of the thing. He's just forcing out
Forcing
the
out
opponent
moves.
to like, you know, I'm like the very defensive guy, and you know, I know what I'm doing, kind of thing. It's just like, you have to do something to get me out of my game.
Yeah.
And we see also a bit of a more aggressive creep spread by Serral here, just like actually taking down the whole low ground at the start. And now soO is moving through the middle of the map a bit more with the creep. So yeah, this is just exactly. I think it's more exactly what we expect of soO and Serral, I feel like.
Yeah, like Serral really trying to connect the bases because you never know. Like all of a sudden, if it turns out to be a Muta build, you really want to have the natural and the 3rd connected this way.
You also want to have the main connected to the natural.
Sure.
He doesn't have that just quite yet, but also having like your main, especially on Cyber Forest, your main completely creeped just to see everything that happens in the main is really a big deal sometimes. You can really take advantage of the big main. And yeah, soO is spreading through the map.
Faster +1 for Serral. It's not going to matter too much because soO's +1 is also catching up. soO a little bit up in supply. Has a very big army, leading by about 20 army supply or so.
But there are still a couple links more. It's like 2.5 supply more of links. This is
I think soO's just going to shove again.
soO's just going to shove again. And Serral, he's going to be ready. He has all 3 queens ready. He's going to be like on the low ground in an arc.
Yep.
And this is the same again as last game, right? It's like 10 drones more.
Yeah.
He's an upgrade.
10 drones is actually a very, very scary amount at this phase. So this could still go very well for soO if he just has the right numbers and the right engagement. And he's moving in now. He has more energy on the queens as well. So there's going to be a transfuser more too.
Drones being pulled. I quite like this move. Well, they're just kind of soaking a little bit.
By though, yeah. He's going to obviously have that defender's advantage, although this engagement actually looks really quite good. Roach speed just finished up as well here for Serral, but soO is actually dealing a ridiculous amount of damage here.
Yeah, good transfuses by soO initially. Queens from Serral falling. Serral does have the roach speed, so the roaches from the main are going to be here, but is he going to be in time?
It's still just so close. Serral even canceling.
He's trying to buy time. I think he's doing a great job buying time with this.
Yeah, I think he's just barely holding on, and as soon as you barely hold on...
But soO's reinforcements are here also.
It's
close, it's close.
Pretty close, but they all lost all their queens, so they're basically even after.
Yeah, but look at the army supply though. Like the numbers are decreasing for both players, but it's getting closer and closer together.
Yes.
And I think Serral looks like he's holding.
And holding is just good enough here. Like Serral lost a bit more.
He did lose like 12 drones. That's quite significant.
He lost like quite a bit more. But
good trading by soO.
But that is all that he has kind of
this was very cost effective for soO.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually think the game is pretty much even right now, right? Like, there's not really
it looks
any
very,
advantage.
very even because Serral also cancelled us +2. If he didn't, he would have been dead here as well.
And
so
remember, Serral had to pull those drones
Yeah,
to stay alive, right?
exactly.
The worker
Like-
count is equalized. This
Yeah.
is such a cool game.
this is just exactly even now. So yeah, it's very interesting because they also both lost all of their queens. So yeah, I'm curious.
Round number 2, maybe?
Round number 2, maybe. So yeah, they're both still very, very scared to drone up. Obviously. Like,
soO is taking the initiative this time around. I wonder if it's gonna start some +2, maybe? Yep. All right.
This is
I like
just-
it.
Like Serral is going to see it probably now,
Yeah.
and he's going to contaminate it maybe soon. So yeah. This is so funny how super close they are right now.
It's
in
just
the
a
game.
high level Cyber Forest game. I
Oh
think.
yeah. Well, there was just such a small difference, really.
There we go.
There was not a lot left for soO to break there, or for Serral to just completely annihilate the attack as well.
I mean, I think he
big
stopped at a good
difference-
time. He stopped
Yeah.
at a good time for sure.
The big difference there was just soO having a bit more energy on his queens, so that's why he needed to pull the drones.
Yep.
But yeah, that's why I said also like 10 drones is really a scary amount to be ahead of, because like you really want to look for the 5, maybe 6 drones. It's like just the right amount to be ahead a little bit in economy, and 10 drones is the moment where you can like actually just get annihilated suddenly and just get run over. We see overlord speed now for Serral, so
Yeah.
he's being a bit more defensive now, looking for more scouting information, and his +2. He has had 2 overseers for a long time, so he's going to try to use them to delay soO's +2.
Yeah, soO has an overseer also. I believe it's only one, I think.
Yeah.
So-
There's the other contaminate of the second. This is
Yeah.
oh
Two-
man,
two
this is
overseers
actually
for
making
Serral.
the difference here.
Yeah,
This
2
is
overseers
so
for
cool.
Serral, and soO is going to lose his overseer. So Serral has more contamination
Especially-
potential. So he can actually advance his +2, even if he started it a little bit later. soO's is going to be stuck and contaminated.
Just this
You know-
tiny detail, it makes a difference.
I wonder if
Yeah.
soO might just
It's like
shove
30
again.
seconds now.
It looks like he's going to just shove again now. Maybe because he
maybe.
says, well, his difference, he's going to lose his +2 timing kind
Yeah.
of. So,
You know, it's a little bit frustrating like that. At least in my experience, when you get your Evo chamber contaminated, it really feels like your potential for a timing just gets kind of
Oh, yeah.
removed, right? And you
Yes.
become so eager, you just kind of want to go anyway. Because
Especially-
we're planning on attacking. Like, it's just
So-
very frustrating to get your chamber
what I think
contaminated.
maybe would be a funny go right now would be just to for soO if he just cancelled his +2 and just like went for another shove, because
Oh, yeah.
like
People-
like Serral is saying, look, you need to
Okay,
push
okay.
now.
What's happening here is that soO's army is stuck on the bottom left, and this could be bad if Serral would push, but he isn't. So soO got away easy there, I think.
It's just so
could've
there's
been a
so
disaster.
many
Yeah.
small details. Yeah, he could have used this advantage right there,
Yeah.
just like moving through the middle and just forcing soO to stay on the low ground. It would have been sick.
But now that both players are maxed, this is
Oh,
when
that
things
run by
become
is going to be huge. That layer in the natural is still very low on HP. He can snipe that.
Yeah.
But
It's just a rotation. Like, he's just
Yeah.
going to kill the queen, maybe kill something else and get out.
and just
But-
move on. Like try to get
But
like.
Serral is
small-
setting up a surround here.
Oh man,
Yeah,
this could
good
have gone
catch.
so wrong for both sides, and it's just
Yeah.
It's just Serral going ahead again, once again, just on that move out.
Just
I
running
would
around
have
the
been
Christmas
scared
tree.
for that base, yeah. But now, it's just the 200 versus 200. At that point, you can kind of.
It's about the tactics, right? It's
yeah,
about
you
whoever
can-
has the better moves.
Oh, it's 2-2 now. That's exciting. The other ZvZ is kind of exciting as well. But man, this ZvZ is just so high level. It's just so on point.
Both players now +2. soO's +2 was somewhat delayed because of the contamination, but they both are fighting with even upgrades right now.
Serral's already halfway through +1 carapace now.
Yep, and he
This
has tunneling
position
pulse on
is-
the way. So once
this
again, it's
position-
soO going for the sledgehammer approach, and Serral with the more long-term oriented stuff.
But
Both
there is
players.
this time there is super even on workers. So
Yep, a lot more even than last game.
yeah, this is. I really there's not a whole lot to call because they're just really poking and prodding. They're being both so careful about their approach. They both don't want to make the wrong move.
Yeah,
because
I mean,
this can
the
swing
state is really
super
even,
quick.
right? They both
can
have roughly
swing.
the same amount of minerals and gas,
Yeah,
so
just-
it's going to be all about the fight. And
Yeah.
ooh, check the production tab, sneaky,
Ooh.
sneaky spire.
There's the Spire. But I think, especially now with Tunneling Claws already being through, this is going to be a good position for Serral. Also, soO has no Overseer left, right? He lost his one Overseer. So if... Oh no, there one is up the top.
Yeah, he made some new ones. Yeah.
So yeah. I was a bit scared for a moment there. But yeah, he sees everything. But it's still going to be scary because now losing a bit on economy would hurt a lot if you're going for mutas behind this.
Nice.
And he might also... Yeah, he's going to... maybe he's going to scout it as well, just by moving into the main. And now Serral is forcing soO to like move back and just lose his position out on the map, and Serral will just look to pounce, right? Ravagers up front, so that already losing a Ravager right there. There's also some movement at the top. It's like, oh, and he scouts Spire. There's just
it's
now
a great scout.
Suddenly everything is going like. And Serral's just trying to shove himself in with the Roach Burrow.
Yeah, I mean, he knows it's a bit too ambitious to do that,
yes,
right?
Yes, absolutely.
But he did get the Infestation Pit behind. He's working on +2 carapace.
And he also got the
Hydra.
Hydra.
He's got the Hive, the Hydra Den. Like, it's just a great setup for Serral. I don't think these mutas are going to do too much. It's going to give a little bit of breathing room for soO, which is, you know, it's very much so needed, right? Because he doesn't have the type of counterattack setup with Tunneling Claws and everything that Serral has been using to kind of gain that sort of map presence and freedom. soO is more like locked into his base, and these mutas are kind of the easy way to break free and actually be able to make some moves again. But when it's countered by Hydras, Lurkers, and Hive Tech, it really doesn't feel good after 2 minutes. Like, it's like the first minute of muta play is like, yeah, this is nice, and then you see the Hydras and it's like, oh, okay.
Also immediately losing a muta there, he can't really take a fight. Right?
It's very demoralizing. You just lose the muta and you're like, oh, okay, I see, I'm already behind in tech.
It's so crazy how...
This is nice though.
Yeah, nice
how they're
counter.
both so low on drones the whole time. It's such a cyber forest game, really.
Yeah. You see it a lot in high-level CvC, is that people rarely go above 66 especially, but on Cyber Forest, there's so many 50 drone games, like it's a super low eco map.
Just because you can pound so easily, the map is so small, right?
Yeah, nice.
So on a map like this, right, if that's the case, isn't a Lurker a significantly better unit than a Muta right now?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, just in general in CvC, I always feel like Lurkers are just flat out better.
Absolutely.
Like the Mutas really did not pay for themselves here at all.
No, not at all.
But one thing, I just want to point it out, if you look at soO's bank, it's gigantic, right? So there's potential for a massive Muta switch somewhere down the line.
Right.
And that's something that could catch Serral off guard. I'm not saying it's likely, I'm not saying that it's...
Look how long it takes Mutas to kill +2 armor roaches, by the way.
I know, right?
Especially
It takes
if
forever.
they just burrow again.
Yeah.
If soO is planning on making a switch like this, I would really love to see +1 flyer attack start at least.
That's what I wanted to say as well, where it's like, so Serral doesn't see the Spire upgrading, so maybe he's just less afraid of it, right?
You see that? He's kind of targeting the Hydras. Like, it's always a good move, but it just keeps me wondering, like, maybe he's planning on doing that Muta switch, right?
And it seems like such a soO way to close out the game as well, right? Where it's like, well, I'm just not looking too much into a very long game, and Serral's just... Yeah, Serral's just playing his cards out well, where he's just like, okay, I've got Hive, I'm getting Lurkers now.
Oh, no Overseer here.
Defense. Oh, man.
He's got to be really cautious in these kind of scenarios, though.
Yeah.
There's a large amount of Zerg right here for soO.
He spotted the smaller count, and he's just like...
And the entire army is being pulled out.
Oh, man, here we go. Big Tunneling Claws towards the natural.
And
there's Lurkers at home, right? He's also got himself that Adaptive Talons upgrade right now, so he's not going to be able to break him.
Yep.
There's just... This is going super fire as well, most likely, right?
It's just like in the first game, right? Except that this time around, soO was kind of pulled or forced out of position.
Yeah.
So I think what we're going to see here probably is the Muta switch, potentially. Like a sort of last resort, but the damage that Serral is going to deal here is going to be game-ending, basically.
Oh,
and there it is,
25
Muta
it's
switch.
like the literal last... It's the last
resort.
Last resort kind of thing. But I think he's going to be in a lot of trouble just because of that +2 armor. You're trading awfully versus Hydras now.
And Serral's expecting it as well, right? He's going up to +3 right now. He's got a lot of Hydras coming up. And
he knows that it's going to be He knows he has everything he needs versus the amount of roaches soO has right now.
Yeah, I mean, the Lurkers cover the ground, so what could you possibly lose to, right?
Exactly.
A couple of Vipers? 2 Vipers?
Broodlords?
That would be a nice addition.
Yeah, but like
what about Ultralisks?
No, I mean, like, what if Serral adds in, like, what if Serral adds in, like, 2 Mutas or 2 Vipers here? That would be pretty cool.
I think it's nice, but I don't think it's necessary because soO just never teched past it. Yeah, of course, like, but the Vipers, they need their time to, like, load up as well.
This is actually not that much anti-air though, right?
But
There's a couple of queens
it's
here.
enough. There is a spore. He has +2. He pulled all the queens.
+2 carapace.
The +2 carapace is just doing a big deal. As soon as the mutas are starting to
Look
fall.
at +2 carapace, man. It's so insane.
It is
Here
so
come the
insane.
roaches,
It just
man.
doesn't fall. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as I said, like the lurkers, they're just there to cold the ground versus the rest of the roaches.
GG.
Man, Serral is just playing so clean, so careful, and such a nice game. But yeah, really just such a Cyberforce game. 50 drones forever, 57 drones at most.
I like how they had 55 drones-ish and then 3,000 in the bank. It's like,
Yeah.
wait, what happened? I guess she's just sitting around on roaches
Absolutely.
all the
You
time.
just don't want to get caught out of position. You just don't want to fight. You don't want to take a bad fight. Because especially on Cyberforce, you have those high grounds. When you're caught out of position one time, the opponent can just like use the high ground versus you all the rest of the fight.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you're just in a rough spot, so...
I like how he always talks to someone in between the
Yeah,
games.
it's right now,
It's Lambo.
Yeah.
They're just
Lambo
sitting there.
advised him as well over at...
Here's Serral versus... Elaser versus Solar, my bad. And it's
actually a
going
really
to be
important match
Ling
as
Bane
well.
versus Roaches, and
Yeah,
Laser is going for Mutas as well. So this is a really big commitment of Solar off of only 36 drones.
Two gas, Roach, Ravager, Ling Bane all in.
Banes.
It's very punchy,
Ooh, they hurt.
but yeah.
Yeah. So also all those queens on very high health. This is looking good. If there was just connection between those bases, that would be sick.
I mean, we just got thrown into this game, but I think it's looking very good for a Laser here, as long as
Oh,
he
yeah.
survives. But he
And
has
he has
2 spines.
he has 4 spines even. He has 2 spines in the natural as well. Maybe he lost one of the spines. Yeah, he lost one of the spines, but it's just so many links, so many banes. He's so far ahead in tech, and just ahead by a bit in the worker department as well. And just such a good position defensively. Killing the Ravagers might just close out the game completely. Because there's just nothing Solar can push off of really, right?
The thing is that at this point, when you've been defending with a lot of
Muta
banelings,
switch here.
it really drains the Muta switch bank, right?
Of course,
So
but
it's only
like
gonna
he's
be-
still ahead in tech, and just a couple
Yeah, for
mutas
sure.
will just shut down the banelings completely now.
For sure. But in a lot of cases, the game is just going to develop. And well, if you're without banelings, maybe they can reach the mineral line, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe like that. This is-
1 baneling, 2 banelings. Oh,
so close.
red drones.
Oh, yeah,
Big
that's a really,
detonation
really
there
good
for
hit. And there's just, there were 2 more spines, I think, at the 3rd building, maybe. So, but it's still,
Damn, this game is sick.
yeah, suddenly it looks pretty good for Solar now, because there were no more brains for Laser left for zoning out. And it's just, the mutas are just quite not enough to kill out the banelings. He's sniping those 2, so this is looking good. But yeah, Solar is now looking for a transition, going for drones, going for the lair. And there's just not a lot of mutas this time. Yeah, just 3 spines at the 3rd. They're a good defensive squad now. Yeah. But yeah, as you said, especially after he lost a couple drones, or a lot of drones actually, 12 drones. This is like actually developing to be a game a bit more now. But now, compared to the last game, Okay,
All right, so
yeah.
the rest of this game will be taken on the B stream. You can find that on Twitch as well. Regardless, we're going to be jumping into this match right here, what could be potentially the final match of this series.
Yeah,
It's match point right here for Serral.
It's just, and he's looking so clean, so solid. Yes, there were a few moments where it could have gone wrong for him, but there was never the moment where he was actually going to break this kind of, yeah.
Laser just won
Yeah,
apparently.
so Solar just gave up. Maybe just a couple mutas too much at that point. So
I like how he switched away for like 5 seconds and then immediately.
That's
It happened the previous time as well.
Yeah, that's
Immediately Laser wins,
kinda
guys.
what
So we just
happens,
have to
I
not
guess.
pay attention.
And Laser is like, man, these guys really don't want to show the winning screen.
Yeah. Well, the winning screen, you could see every single of the 3 winning screens on the B stream, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
So
Shout out to Grant for covering most of the games there.
yeah, Grant
Yeah,
has
he's
been
killing
doing
it as
a
well.
ton on the B stream, right? I've
Just
seen
drinking
it.
Red Bulls all day, going on.
Going
No, it
ham.
makes sense. Yeah, no, he's actually been casting a ton. He's been casting over these last couple of days in the second production studio. So if you want to see the other games that are going on as well, make sure to have a look at the channel. I think it's Take
TV 2.
or Take TV 2, something along
I
those lines.
think
But
it's
there's a
Take
spot
TV 2.
stream going on right now. So if you're looking at the top side of the screen, you should be able to watch in squad mode and check out the different kinds of streams that are happening. Obviously, there's also a couple of the other languages going on as well.
Right.
I know Emil has been killing it over in the Take TV basement, casting.
Just like in the basement,
Polish.
as always. And Neruda's in the studio too here as well all the time. I've been casting quite a bit on the German stream as well. When I don't get on the main couch, I'd gladly still cast and help a bit Neruda because, man, that guy has a lot of work right before HomeStoryCup. He's organizing most of it.
Yeah.
He's looking for the players and all that. So there's just so much work. And then during HomeStoryCup, he's doing the 10, 12-hour stream. So yeah, I'm just looking for him to be not completely lonely. And yeah, it's nice. It's nice. So on this map, so far, we don't see anything special. It's just exactly ZvZ as you would imagine. On the
Micro Wars.
It's funny as well, because sometimes you micro so hard, you over-micro, and then you end up losing them. You would have just tech moved.
Tell me about it. It happened way too many times.
All the time.
It's like I micro my heart out, and then at the end of it, I have no Zerglings against someone that has 5 left.
Or you
from
look
6.
away, and then the 2 extra Zerglings come across, and they just kill everything, and all the
I
efforts
see
were
some
completely
aggression from Serral, but probably nothing too out of the ordinary. Actually getting even the Evo chamber, just very normal stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like Acropolis, but the difference here is that you need to go up the ramp.
Yeah.
To
Which is a
put on
big
pressure.
deal, right?
It's a big deal, yeah.
Because you get your Overlord pushed back very, very soon as a Queen is there.
Yeah.
So you can't really see up the ramp anymore.
Oh.
Even to Banelings, trading a bit versus Lings and Bane. So it's just, nothing too big happening just now. It's just some Ling Bane wars.
The way this map plays out compared to the first game we saw on Acropolis is that it's a little bit easier to sneak Banelings into the natural, but it's also a bit more difficult and complicated to charge up this ramp because vision is limited.
He's now ahead in Zerglings. Maybe even getting that Queen.
Good pressure.
It's so crazy as well, right? Because if you're like a casual StarCraft player, these little micro battles are ridiculously hard. Like they make it look pretty straightforward. It's like, just don't run your Zerglings into the Banelings. It's just that they move at like 100 kilometers an hour.
Something that's also very easy to miss with all of these fights. We always focus the camera on the fight, right? But the production type, right?
Yeah.
It's so easy as a newer player to this game to focus too much on the fight, and then you look at your production tab and it's like, I have 900
stuff on
minerals.
the third base of Serral happening right now. We will see. Yeah, it's just maybe just a couple links.
Like 1 or 2 Zerglings, but still getting 2 drones. That's nice. And getting the scout is important.
They're both just like looking to divide their attention. And soO is looking good though. He's ahead on workers. He has quite a bit of a bank hold up. So this kind of aggression, it didn't really pay off. So the big thing here for when you're being aggressive, you're obviously spending money on the links a bit earlier because they moved on the other side of the map. So that is always a big deal in ZvZ. That way you get a drone lead if you defend properly.
I mean, I think it's fair to say that all of the early games that we've seen in the series so far have been fairly neutral. But I would say that this is probably one of the better ones for soO.
Absolutely.
But on the flip side, it kind of looks like Serral is catching up at the very least in army supply.
Wow. Really nice explosion on that one Baneling.
So soO is going to have to respect this a little bit. And
is that a manual detonation?
Oh, soO is going for the... Yeah.
It's a Spire switch, and there's no +1 missile. But Serral, he's had enough. Like, he's just going to...
Serral is just going for the throat now.
Yep.
There is no lair, right? So he's just going for +1.
That's the thing.
3
like,
gas.
We're sitting here like talking about Serral like he's some sort of macro player only, but that's of course not the case.
That's not
that's the reason why he's so scary.
He's so scary, right?
He doesn't just play macro. I mean, he's not a very predictable opponent. He does like playing macro.
Oh, that's really good. Getting a lot of the links, just forcing out more links probably. So yeah, that's a big part about what makes you the best player.
Oh man, those splits are so quick as well.
And what's really important to note about this too is that all of this micro that Serral is doing, it's not just trying to take a fight, but it's also a distraction. I'm a little bit surprised.
That's so many roaches with +1. soO is on 62 workers.
Did soO see this though? He must have, right?
He must have seen it with Overlords in the middle, but that's so much. There's no way he's going to hold it, right?
It really depends on the Spire timing.
And it's almost done, but Serral can just go for the throat.
Desperation, spine crawlers. That's never really a situation you want to be in.
Yeah. Kill, no cancel. Muta's in production, but it's not looking too good. I have to say.
Just a little late.
GG.
He's just